Hi guys, this is Fritz. I just got first in Swiss top 8 at a case tourney for Phantom Rage at Epic Cards and Games. Really good shop, really good community, very high level of play there. I played against like three sponsored players. One of them was I played twice, so four. Won three of those. So I ended 5-0-1 in Swiss, so 6 rounds and then cut the top 8, and I got a rematch versus one of those people I played, except this time I didn't open hand traps, or at least he played through all my hand traps and got hand looped by Infernoble. But anyway, so I'm not doing like a full deck profile. I'm just going to talk about the deck a little bit, and I think the engine ratios. So I don't really want to give out lists yet. So here we go. We have 3, and 2. These are the level 3s. So all of the virtual world cards have like the same first effect, and then they have an additional part of the effect. So this one, it dumps. Yeah, so you target a virtual card you control. You dump from your deck to your graveyard a virtual card of a different type. So if I target a monster, I have to target or send a spell or trap. And then their like second effect is different. So this one I activate in the hand, targeting a virtual card. Send one of a different type, and then I add one of the third type to my hand. So this one adds one. This one adds one from graveyard during the end phase with that same first effect. And then this is like the only one that doesn't have this effect. This one summons itself from the graveyard as a tuner when you summon a level 3. So this is like the worst main deck one, but it's really important because it recycles your banished, and it recycles any banished card, including face downs, so that it has a little bit of synergy with desires and um, just other it lets you recycle anything you need, and this card is really good, but you don't want to draw it usually. You usually want to send it off one of the other ones. So these are the level 3s. Then we have the level 6s. This one is really good. This one is not so good. However, this one has really good uses in 2-card combos. This card, or in certain 2-card combos. This card is insane. This is the monster reborn of the deck. So you target one, special it, send one of a different type, and then you summon a monster from your graveyard of a different name than the one you sent. If you sent a monster, so this is like one of your better follow-up plays, and it can help you extend through stuff like Nibiru or whatever. And this one is a Foolish, which you think would be normally good. Like Foolishes are good, especially in decks that have archetypal like banish from grave effects. But every one of your other cards is a Foolish as well, which makes this one just kind of because it has to send the 2 different types that you target. So let's say I send the trap. I target a monster. I send the trap. Then I just have to send the spell, which is like kind of eh. The third effect I believe is always optional. So let's say you don't want to send the third card, you don't have to. Same with like the revive is optional, the add is optional. The Skarm I don't believe is optional. Actually, let me check. Um, no, so that is optional as well. So all of the second effects are like optional. So you don't actually need to use those. But anyway, so this is like the best one. Again, he's your extender, and usually he's like a follow up as well. So these are the gates. I think this is just correct ratios. You have to play 3 of all of them. This card is probably the best card in the deck. This one is good because it puts this on the field. So how these work is this card says activate this card, place a data virtual world gate face up on your field, and these are your gates. This is a negate, so you banish a virtual world card from your graveyard and negate one monster in the field, so that's targets until the end phase. This can target both your monsters and your opponents, which is really important because you can use it to set up your banish, and you can use it to turn off your own macro, which is again that comes up a lot. And this card is again best card in the deck, I think. It recycles 2 of your banish data escape cards, and target and pop 1 card on the field. So this is like how you keep your engine going: is you banish cards with your synchro, which I'll get to in a moment. or Nyan, and then you recycle them with this thing. And it's a pop every turn. And so what's really cool about it is you can also use it to protect your own plays. For instance, you can use this to dodge like Veil or Imperm. Like the big one is make Calamities, activate Calamities in draw phase. And if they try and like Imperm it, we can just use this to pop the Calamities and it will resolve. This card is really good going second too, because we can activate this, place our negate face up on the field, and then activate the negate, banishing the tutor, and then target one of their interactions, and that forces out a negate, or you just straight up get a monster on their field negated. And then you can just play off of this with all your monsters targeting it. If you open one of these 6 cards, you usually can play without your normal summon, which is really good. And we have to play 3 of them all because we play Desires. And I think playing 3 is correct anyway. So this is like, for now, you have to play this. This is essentially any of the level 3 names, any of the level 3 psychics, which is Nyan or Lulu. And it lets, like, the deck's main problem is when you don't open multiple Datascape cards so you can play. So this is essentially just a Datascape name on the field. It's really not a good card, and this might change in the future, or depending on what engines, you could use this to summon other psychic stuff and then go into the Datascape plays. But at least for right now, this card is not very good, but you need to play it just to give more Datascape names. And then 3 Desires is like, I think, part of the core. This card is insane in the deck because 1, you have almost all 2-card combos, so you need to see more cards. And you can also just recycle your banish with Nyan, even the face downs that you banish here. So again, during the event, I had multiple times where I would banish like, I banished 3 of Lulu, so like my Rhoda, and I banished 2 of the trap, and I drew the 3rd trap, so I just wasn't able to play until I banished so I got to a Nyan. Nyan banished as part of its effect, and then I could put back a Lulu because Nyan can put back my face down banish, and then I could just keep playing. So I think you have to play this card at least right now because you don't have 1-card combos, and this lets you see 2 cards. So, and worst case, it's like Ashbay. And then, so these are like the only core cards in the extra deck, I would say, is your archetypal Synchro, and he's really good. He's macro on the field, just for field. He can put stuff back from your banish, so he recycles banish himself. And he also can bring himself back every turn that, besides the turn he was sent there, by banishing monsters of different type and attributes. And so that isn't limited to Datascape cards. This is generic, and that's really important because you can do stuff like banish VFD for his effect. So like turn 3, they out your VFD, but even though it resolves, he's in the graveyard, VFD's in the graveyard, and you banish VFD to summon him, and then you banish a Nyan, like with its own effect, or just because this is a macro on the field, and you can just put the VFD back in your extra deck and make another VFD turn 3, even though we only play 1 of it. So this card is really good, and I would say it's part of the reason the grind game is so good, especially the interactions with the trap, because this sets up the trap every single turn, and it lets you go through your recycle all your resources. You can even do stuff like if you're running low on resources, you can use the trap. So like during their end phase, you can pop this with the trap, and then start, and then recycle 2 banished. Start your turn by summoning this from the grave by banishing 2 Datascape monsters of different type and attributes. Then pop it again with the trap. They recycle another 2 cards. So I think this card is like really, really good. Yeah, can't say enough good things about it. So the other 2 Datascape cards we play are these 2. These are like going second cards. This one sends a card on the field by banishing 2 monsters with the same type and attribute. And this one detaches to banish a card they control and in the graveyard. Is it face up? Yeah, 1 face up the card they control, 1 in the graveyard. So this is really good in control matches because it also floats if they pop it. So for instance, I summoned this versus Dogmatica. I was playing versus Dogmatica Eldritch, and I summon this, and it's either he lets it resolve and I banish his his Gold Boy and his Sanguine in his graveyard, so totally cutting off from Eldritch Engine, or he pops it with Punishment, and then I just float into two monsters from my deck because of it. So, and then both of these, like your entire extra deck is recyclable because what I mentioned before with your trap and then also Neon. So we only play one of those. This one sends one with by banishing two of the same name, and it has like a protection effect that's not very good, but it does come, and it's level 6, which is important because there are a lot of times you only make level 6s and use your trap to modulate the levels. And these are like the two less honorary cards that I don't really see leaving the core. You play Cloud Castle. This is pretty straightforward, but it brings back your level 9 synchro, and this is how you go in the VFD turn 1 a lot. And VFD is your best turn 1 card. The only time I wouldn't make this turn 1 is if I'm against like some weird control deck that just doesn't use monster effects, like for instance, like mine. I'm not making this, obviously. So instead, I would make like some other cards in my deck. And what's cool about this card in the deck is you can use the trap to protect it. So again, you summon it, you use it during their draw phase, because we're not going to let them kaiju it or anything, or dark ruler it. And then we activate effect, and then if they try and imperm or droplets or whatever on this, then we chain our trap and pop the VFD so it'll resolve properly. So. And then like the main little combo I guess I can really show you is if you get access to like I believe it is any 2 tuners, so like this summoned as a level 3. This right here is the VFD because you go 1, 2. So these 3 and 6 for this guy, and then you banish the trap from the grave to decrease his level by 3, and then this is a tuner when it's summoned by its effect. So then we just go for Cloud Castle, and Cloud Castle bring back, and then we overlay it for VFD. Easy. So anyways, I think this deck is really good. I was really happy with how it performed all event. The only things that made me a bit sad is again because it's like a 2-card combo deck. You don't really have 1-card plays. You need to like you don't do super well against stuff like Infernoble that are just gonna rip the best card out of your hand. What is kind of cool is they can play without their normal summon if like I said, we open like a gate plus one of the monsters that summons itself, which is all but this one. So you do have the option of playing stuff like Sphere Mode going second, and I think that's actually a pretty good card against Dragon Link if you're playing against that. The problem again is Infernoble though, because you're going to get cards ripped out of your hand. But anyways, the deck's really good. I think it's actually really insane versus grind decks because of this card and how you can technically recur your resources infinitely. Oh, I didn't even mention this. Just quick, this card is Rhoda, and that's why the engine is so good. I can't believe I didn't mention this, but anyway, like when you target the trap and then send this with one of your monsters, that just essentially gets like 2 ads with this card. So this card is really good because because 1, the on-field effect is okay, and then 2, obviously it turns into any Dayscape name if you can get it in the graveyard. So like an option is playing Foolish Goods or something, but I'm not a huge fan of it as someone who's tested it, but that is an option. So anyways, thanks for watching. That was like the really high level overview of the deck. What all the cards do, and like I think this is, at least right now, I would say this is like the normal ratios for the deck core. You can mess with them, but I feel like this is probably best for now, especially if you're playing Desires. If you're not playing Desires, you might be able to cut like the trap down the 2, but I think the trap is like one of the best cards in the deck, or if not the best card in the deck. So I feel like that's just wrong. But anyways, so that's the deck. Performed really well. Won, I think, like 2 boxes worth of cards or of packs. Was pretty happy with it. Beat some good players. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or any suggestions or whatever. Go ahead. I'll peace out. Thank you for watching.